Hey, Arcturus here. Today we're looking at Lego Ninjago, the Dragonian Storm Village. This is a pretty cool set. It comes with a couple really nicely detailed minifigures and a small little dragon themed training area or village, I guess. It seems a little small to really call it a village. It's much more like a action scene section than anything else. It does come with an odd thing that's this sort of top style piece for the playset that does spin. I've just set one of the dragon people on there for right now, but it is basically just a top, and I'll show that in a second. You do get a good number of minifigures on here with some interesting play features. One of the interesting play features is you actually build this collapsible bridge that you can just pull out and falls down. Now with the weapon there, he doesn't fall super well, but partly because of how I've got the weapon there. But you can see you've got this little rod here that just holds the bridge up, and it can push it back in as well, which is interesting. And if we put him on there so he's flat, then you pull it out, well, all right, maybe not. All right, let's try this again. There we go. It's a little difficult to get them to line up to fall, but it does let you set up that sort of action scene, where you're running across the falling bridge. It does catch a little bit. I don't know if maybe I put it together wrong or what, but it does go back, so I don't know. I don't know if I messed that up a little bit or not. It's a cool concept, at least. I just don't know if the execution is all the way there. I think it would work better if the bridge was a little longer, because this is a little narrow. It's only 3 of these plates long, so it does make it a little difficult for it to fall through here. I have to have it right in the correct spot. There are only 2 stickers in this set, and that's these 2 pictures here, which is nice change of pace from some of the other sets. You do make a sort of dragon mouth here, as well as to go with the piece that goes on top, which is really nice. You build this nice cage that opens up for any prisoners the dragons have taken, or Dragonians. For the lanterns on this set, there's 3 of them. They actually use the triangular or cone piece as opposed to one of the round tubes, which just gives them a little bit more shadow towards the top, which I think makes it look more like the lights on the bottom. It's not a huge thing, not hugely noticeable, but I thought it worked pretty well. You do have a skeleton here on the inside of the dragon's tower here, but that's just this typical skeleton. And you get some interesting weapons in this set, and we'll take a look at those in a moment. So that's the main portion of the village. You also get this sort of Beyblade-like thing. It makes use of these 2 really big molded pieces with these sort of hooks on them, and you can just spin it from this thing. It has this little smooth piece on the center there, but basically it just kind of goes, which I think adds kind of nicely to the play feature. It's not hugely... It's an odd addition, because for this to be a village, it really feels like it needs another small building at least that would kind of connect to it. It really feels more like a tower or an outpost than a village, in my opinion. But you can attach minifigures to it. It's got multiple spots where you can put them on there, and it does spin pretty well. So, I mean, that can be a fun thing to have. So let's start off by looking at the minifigures. So we'll take a look here first at the Dragonian Warrior. And I really do like these minifigures. They're very nicely detailed. You even have footprinting here for the dragon claws, some scales there on the leg, and then some armor from the leg up into the torso. They do give them this pretty large weapon, which I'll take out for a second here. You build up a nice armor section on the top here with this underplate and then this top plate. And this top piece is the same as what's on the top of the tower there. And I'll take this off. They also have this little molded dragon piece that you attach 2 wings to that can either fit on the back or just be left off. depending on what you're interested in. And I'll slide this off real quick. And here's the back of that figure. And then here's that metal armor piece. And it just slides right over the top the way you would expect for Lego. The back of the Dragonian head is pretty cool, though. It's like this fire section here, whereas the front is what you'd expect. It's difficult to see it, though, with the helmet on. But there's his head, and with his helmet back on, you can't even see those anymore. I do like that with the red helmet, it does make the dragon look like it has red eyes, even though the minifigure's eyes are much lower. They didn't have to... You know, it's nice when the helmet sort of lets the minifigure see, as opposed to misaligning it. And that dragon piece just attaches right there to the back and blends in really well. Makes it look kind of like a dragon spine. So I'm going to set him down for a second. You do get a second one of those winged dragon pieces, but with this second figure, you'd have to take off the hairpiece, which is this cool mohawk section. And the back of his head is a little different because he is technically a Dragonian scout. You have to take off... You can't attach this back piece, though, with the hairpiece. It just doesn't connect. And you build him this interesting-looking axe out of two of those axe head pieces and a spiked section, which is a nice little weapon to include. The torsos look pretty identical. The only real difference is the heads there. Whereas his has a lot more scales than the other one did. The other one looked a little older. And then the back of the head is just scales versus the like sort of fire section on the other one. So that's the Dragonian Scout. Then you get 4 actual characters. We'll take a look at Moro first, who is the green warrior. Has some very nice detail there on the legs. You have sort of like the top of sandal connections, I guess, but there's no printing here. And then you get some printing on the torso and the upper portion of the leg. He does have a glowing green arm. I assume that means something to anyone who knows more about Ninjago than I do, but I don't know why his arm is... One arm is like that sort of clear, translucent green, and one hand is green like his head versus the other hand. And then on the back, you get some cool back torso section there. There is some yellow on this cape, but I don't think it's coming through on the camera very well, but there is some yellow there. His shoulder piece is just this very simple connection here, and then he has this bandana mouthpiece that just sets right there. Oops, and that is in fact upside down. It does go one way. I did put it on backwards the first time, and it didn't work very well. And then his face has some sort of like eye shadow marks there, and then similar but more aggravated in that way. So we'll slide that back on real quick. I will say it does look pretty cool this way with the mask there. We'll look at our other masked character, who is Rogue, who has these lightning blades, which I thought was clever. I like the handles particularly for them because they have this dragon head section there, which I thought was pretty cool, but I'll take those off real quick. He actually does have footprinting there for the sandals and some nice details across the torso with some gold printing on the chest there to indicate some metal sections. And then he does have this sheath here for his sword on the back and this cool hat. And then here is the back of his torso, which is pretty cool, I think. And he also has one of those masks. And there's his only one-sided face print on him, but he does come with the large hat. So it's not surprising that you wouldn't want the second one because you'd be able to see it. So that was Rogue. And then we have Nia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Who just has these 2 katanas. We'll take off real quick, both in gold and a very detailed figure here, which just looks really good. Sort of like opening up to a metal breastplate there with some nice blue details. And he also has this sheath holster here and a very interesting helmet. I like the detail on this helmet. It looks pretty cool. And then here is the back of the minifigure. We'll slide that sheath back on. And she does have two-sided face printing. One with this sort of mask to go into the helmet, which blends really nicely, I think. Set that one down. And then our last one is Zane, who is basically a white version of that blue and silver one there. Just more white and gray than blues. And he does have this clear katana. I don't know why he has a clear katana. Maybe because he's like a white ninja, I guess. But the blue ninja didn't have one. And his head is actually silver, which makes me think he's a robot. I don't know if he is, but it definitely looks like he's kind of robotic. And he does also have sort of this visor print that that Nia also had. And here's the back of that torso. Again, it just kind of looks more like a recolor of the other one. And I'll just leave off his back there. But again, just a recolor of the helmet as well. But some nice detail on those figures. Well, that's all I have for you this week. I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe.